Indeed, it's always nice to hear, oh, you are beautiful. You are beautiful, is true. Good evening, my dear listeners. It's another Saturday evening, and we do give all glory and thanks unto God for as many out there as do believe in God anyway. We are alive and we are well, irrespective of the many challenges that are facing different people all over the country. It is still thanks be to God. It is time to bring to you once again the program that had been designed to open your minds, your hearts, as to the essence of marriage, of love. A happy and successful marriage, love is not enough. If what you desire is a successful marriage, a happy married life, then this program is for you. Whether you are married already or you are not yet married, it doesn't matter. I do agree that this is not a school of marriage, but it is a forum that we can use, a platform that we have raised to try to discuss, share knowledge, experience. Nobody knows it all, I agree. I still remain yours truly, Reverend Dr. Adebayo Bolajoko. And of course, if I may remind you, it's a phone-in program. So if you are interested, you can call the studio lines, any of two, 0805 094 2988, 0805 094 2988, or 0911 064 5200, 0911 064 5200. Either of the two, feel free. You may recall that for about 4 or 5 weeks now, if you like, 4 or 5 episodes, we had been talking about personality, human personality, the common types and the common understanding that people have. And last week, we asked the question, and of course we discussed the issue, as to how does one relate understanding of human personality to marriage? And we briefly said, normally when you look at mathematics, they will teach you that under normal conditions, 1 plus 1 ought to equal 2. And I did agree with that. 1 plus 1 equals 2. We now said, when it comes to marriage, the ideal answer, the correct answer is not 2. Because the designer of marriage made a special rule. And the rule is 1 plus 1 equals 1. Yes, 1 plus 1 equals 1. That is what it is supposed to be. And we now said for a number of people, if not most people, 1 plus 1 equals 1 is like a mystery, which is difficult to understand, to unravel. While it may naturally not be clear how 1 plus 1 should be 1, we made it also clear that the essence of discussing happy and successful marriage is to unravel that mystery. From the human angle, it may sound difficult, but then the truth is, as long as a man and a woman are interested, everything is dependent on the degree, the extent to which they understand certain principles, and the extent that they are willing to make effort to understand more together and apply their understanding together for the benefit of each other. And we said when you begin to look at human personalities, there is one entity that is very, very, very important. Among the 5 or 6 traits, among the 5 or 6 skills that are available for use, 1 out of the 5 or 6, depending on how you want to apply them, is very important. And we said that one that is so important is the openness skill. How open each partner is. Remember, we discussed that these things called personality exist on scales. If you want me to make a quick reminder, I will. You have the honesty, humility skill. You have the emotionality scale. You have the extraversion, introversion scale. You have the agreeableness and openness. How agreeable you are determines how open you are to each other. So if you remember those ones, I've just given you 3 out of the 6. They are very important. When you are open, the chances are you'll be more willing to learn something. You'll be more willing to experience something. And that influences how agreeable you will be with each other. You want me to repeat that? I will. How open are you? How open is your mind? If you are somebody who naturally has a mind that is so closed, you don't like to experience something new, chances are you may score higher on the neuroticism scale. And if you do, chances are you will score low on the agreeable scale. So you see how the different skills can interact with each other. So that's why I say on the long run, that agreeable skill, the more agreeable you are, the less hostile you are. The more agreeable you are, the chances are the more open your mind, your heart, your emotions will be. So you see, if you are not yet married, you need to find out how agreeable are you with the other person you are thinking of marrying. If you are not very agreeable with each other, honestly, I tell you, you may have some real issues. Honestly, you may. So, that's just to give you a quick recap. Today, let's look at what are those problems? What are those challenges? What are those issues that had been identified as killers of marriage agreement? Remember, there is no perfect human being. Hence, there can never be a perfect marriage. You may have a good marriage depending on how willing you are to work on it. But there can never be a perfect marriage in the true sense of perfect. Therefore, a good philosophy that everyone who intends to marry somebody else or who is already married to somebody else must always have readily at hand is to err is human, to forgive divine. If that is always lurking in your consciousness somehow, then chances are you are ready to build a successful marriage. When we talk about previously identified issues in marriage, what do we want to talk about? We want to look at what different people from different parts of the world have made research on, what they have found out, what they have actually recorded, published as challenges. These findings, as had been published or recorded, will prove one point, and the point is human being is human being. Man is man, woman is woman. We face similar challenges. And this is because by nature, human beings are imperfect. But the imperfect human being will often desire, sometimes insist, that everything around him or her must be perfect. The imperfect woman the imperfect man desires a perfect woman or a perfect man. Generally speaking, this incongruence between the imperfect man and woman by nature, desiring perfection, is the source of problems, of conflicts in life, not just in marriage. Unfortunately, the intimate coexistence that of necessity must take place in the context of marriage seems to make this natural problem even worse. How do I mean? If I work in an office, I may have somebody, a colleague, that rubs me off in a manner that irritates me, annoys me, and whatever. But because I know that, it's just during working hours, we will soon close and go home, I may not mind it so much. But when we talk about marriage, this is somebody that whether you like it or not, you live together. For as many hours as you can think of, you are together. At the end of the day, I won't say more than that. Now, it is expected that by the time we finish discussing all the different kinds of problems, you will have a better understanding. And hopefully, you may be able to develop a different approach. Now, the very first problem that I would like us to look at is boundary problems. Gina Holmes, the author of Wings of Glass, identified boundary problems as one of the biggest issues in marriage. What did she mean by boundary problems? She tried to explain that even in marriages, spouses have issues with their partner crossing personal space lines. Did you get that right? Personal space lines in marriage. This, when we talk about personal space, what exactly are we talking about? Personal space is a psychological space that arises from each person's personality. And naturally, every person, while growing up, would have defined some sense of space for themselves, even before they got to the age of getting married. And when do they get married? When they do get married, rather, some people acutely, consciously retain such sense of personal space. Now, the prefined space is violated more often than not by the person that had been married, maybe a man, maybe a woman, whoever your spouse is. The violation is more in the area of wife wants to help husband or husband wants to help wife. This spousal helpfulness is what may now become a problem. The first thing to note is that in most cases, the desire to be helpful was conceived in good faith. Wife wants to help husband. Husband wants to help wife. That in itself is a good thing. Honestly, in itself. Unfortunately though, more often than not, what was construed to be helpfulness is nothing other than a desire, albeit unconscious desire, to mold the spouse into the type of person one would want them to be. Maybe I should put that in another way. I want to help my wife. That is my conscious desire. That's what I am thinking in my mind. But in the process of trying to help my wife, I end up crossing her psychological space. The space that she had defined for herself around her. That's what she understands my wanting to help to be. Meanwhile, in truth, my wanting to help may actually be an unconscious desire to bring about a change in my wife. I want my wife to become what I want, what I desire. I have a picture in my mind that I want to mold my wife to become, or I want to mold my husband to become. That oftentimes is a big problem, because your attempt as husband, your effort as wife to help your spouse may not be well understood, because that other person is seen beyond your help. Now, the desire for my spouse to be in my preferred image, that is what leads to crossing boundaries. A perception by the other person. Now, it has to be pointed out that although this desire to help, to mold, really is an unconscious thing, the other spouse usually does not see the good faith behind it. What the other person sees may be, more often than not, an attempt to control. Oh, you want, maybe you have had it said, maybe even you have said it before, especially men. Oh, you want to control me. So if you have ever had that statement, oh, you want to control me, I am giving you the explanation of the problem behind that statement. You want to control me. And usually when such a statement comes out, the wife that is being accused of attempt to control may become angry. Say, in what way am I trying to control you? Because in all truth, in all honesty, she is not conscious of trying to control, although that may be the unconscious drive, the motive behind the action. So you see, it's a bit complex, so to say. It may not be that one person is trying to lie to the other person. When the person say, no, I'm not trying to control you. She's not trying to lie, because she herself may not be truly aware of the motive driving her actions. And the man that became angry and is now accusing the woman, oh, you want to control me, may not be lying, simply because he himself is not even aware of the truth that the woman wants to achieve something good. That is what is in her mind. And that is to tell you, because we usually, whether we are men or women, we usually don't think of motives. Even when we do think of motives, we usually don't find it easy to understand other people's motives. We more often than not misconstrue, misunderstand. We wrongly perceive. Therefore, we make the wrong deductions. We come to wrong conclusions. Imperfect man, imperfect woman. It is normal. It is natural. And then problems arise. We begin to fight. Please, let's give ourselves some little room to think about that. And then let's listen to some music while we are thinking. It's only a heartbeat away. Hold out my hands and I touch love. so much love, keeping me warm night and day. The space in between us, telephone can take the place of your smile. I won't be traveling forever ever. Hold out, hold out, do what can do when I need you. Give you, baby, it's only a heartbeat away. He's your driver, that we bear. No, I won't be traveling for a time. Hold up, hold up, do what I do where I need you. That was Leo Sayer, When I Need You. You see, the truth is, we will always need someone. Every person will need someone at one point in time or the other. And the question now becomes, who is that someone? So if you are not yet married, that is the essence of this program. For you to be able to carefully understand certain principles that can help you into selecting that someone. No matter how imperfect you are, no matter how imperfect that someone might turn out to be, the truth remains, one imperfect man needs one imperfect woman to become better, but not perfect. Such is life. Now, we are still talking about boundary problems. It may not be easy to practice how to be more open with each other, how to be more agreeable with each other. But the lesson to keep in mind is this: never forget that you married your spouse the way you found them, the way they have most probably been since their childhood. So, at this point in time, any attempt to have them change, no matter the good intention that you have in mind, that effort to change them will be perceived, will be seen as interference, invasion of their personal psychological space. Their husband, their wife, when you now see your husband or wife crossing your space. This is the reason behind it. Now, invasion of psychological space of your spouse can be a serious problem. Even right from a few days after marriage, it can begin to happen. And once it happens, and the person who is at the receiving end, the person who is affected, does not quickly understand the challenge that is already being set up in their minds, it will lead to resistance. The person will begin to put up resistance to the efforts being made by the spouse. And unfortunately, let's say it is the husband that is initiating a move that the wife is perceiving as invasion of personal space. Please mind the words I'm using. I didn't say privacy, because in what I'm trying to say, privacy is not exactly the same. Because the word privacy oftentimes connotes guarding of some physical entity, private parts and things like that. Yes. What I'm putting forward is more of psychological space. It's about perception of an attack on personality, attack on who that person is, attack on who that person perceives themselves to be. So that is what I'm talking about. And that is why it is not something that is easy for the two of them to sit down to discuss unless they are smart enough to recognize it. Most people, unfortunately, are not smart enough. They are not stupid, they are not foolish. It's just that they are not aware of the challenge. Now, the husband is trying to change the wife to conform with an image in his own mind, according to how he sees the issue, how the husband feels. He means well. And that is true. He means well. But the wife doesn't see that. The wife perceives he wants to control me. So she sets up a block. She puts up resistance. The husband perceives the resistance. The husband sees the resistance. He feels it. That is true. But the husband only sees the resistance. He doesn't understand where it is coming from and why that resistance is being put in place. He doesn't. All he sees, which he interprets for himself, is this woman is blocking me. That's all he sees. Now, so when I say that, husband, don't try to change your wife. Wife, don't try to change your husband. At least don't make that conscious effort that is usually made. You can now understand why I say so. Because immediately you do, you will encounter challenge. You will encounter resistance. The best attitude is don't make the effort. Then what do? Your wife is doing something that you don't like. The natural thing is, this thing you are doing, I don't like it. Change it. That is natural attitude. But I am telling you tonight, that is not the best thing to do, to try to change her. So what is the best thing to do? Change your own attitude. Change your own response to what you are seeing. Cohesio, I know. Now, how can you change your own response? Let me cite an example. This is a true life story now. A man got married to a woman. They went on honeymoon. And the very first morning, the husband woke up first, entered the bathroom, picked the toothpaste, brushed his teeth, came out. A while later, the wife went to have a bath. She picked up the toothpaste, and she was like, how can this man just pick the toothpaste, a new toothpaste, a new tube, just press it in the middle? So she went to the bottom and pressed, thereby refilling the middle to make it look nice. The following morning, the husband picked the toothpaste and pressed it near the top, not even the middle now. The wife came in and she was irritated. So eventually it became, why would you just pick up toothpaste and just press it anywhere your hand touches? Don't you think common sense dictates that you should press from the bottom so that... I agree with the woman. Common sense dictates that you press from the bottom. Yes. But in this case, what is common sense? Immediately she used the word common sense, the man became angry. Oh, you mean I'm stupid? I am foolish. I am this, I am that. The man felt disrespected. You see, problem had started. Eventually, the two of them stopped talking about toothpaste. But the problem was there. And the two of them, in fact, the man started building resistance. Sometimes he would intentionally press the toothpaste in many parts. Press the bottom, press the middle, press the top, just to irritate the woman the more. Maybe if the woman had just said, okay, so this is what this man is used to, and then either just silently press the button to correct it and just accept that this is who this man is. Or maybe even when she brought it up, she just pointed it out to him, said, "Oh boy, why do you always press this thing anywhere your hand touches? Maybe if you press it at the bottom, it will look better, it will be easier," or whatever. Bring up some nice reason. Maybe the man would have seen things differently. So you see, the woman meant well, but the man didn't see that. And that became a big challenge. Maybe one of these days, I will tell you the end of this particular story. Maybe. Now, the best thing you can do not to challenge, not to cross psychological boundaries, is for you to learn not to see. You see, but you choose not to see. You hear, but you choose not to hear. That means you are modifying your own behavior rather than trying to modify the behavior of your spouse. So like that, my young man that called about 6 weeks ago to say, when you try to please a woman, you are doing everything for her, but she just doesn't appreciate it. My dear young man, I tell you, the best thing you can do is to modify your own attitude, your own behavior. Try not to be bothered by what you are perceiving as an ungrateful wife. Because the more you see your wife as, oh, this is an ungrateful woman, the more you will build a resistance against her. And the more her ungratefulness, which you are perceiving, will grow worse. And that will make you to become worse. It will become a vicious cycle. Honestly, that is how it goes. The truth is this: the only person you can change without causing so much trouble is you, yourself. That is the truth about marriage. That is the truth about life. The good thing is, more often than not, when you learn to change your own attitude to whatever you are perceiving as undesirable behavior of your spouse, you will become, as you learn more about yourself, you will learn to become more accepting with time. You will begin to realize that some of those things that you thought were so annoying before were actually not as annoying as you thought they were. And when that begins to take place, you will begin to show a more positive attitude because you are destroying the wall of resistance in you. And as your own wall of resistance is breaking down, your spouse may begin to perceive your positive attitude, your positive change towards him or her. And that may begin to touch the other person. And as that begins to touch that person, it may bring about a change in them, in their own attitude. So what am I saying? I am saying don't make the effort to change somebody. No. Change yourself. As you change your own attitude, it is your own change that may bring about a change in the other person over time. As a matter of policy, love your spouse for who they are, for what they are. I think it was Barry White that sang that song. I love you just the way you are. I think I will look for that song, and maybe next week we'll even play it. Don't go changing. Yes, you don't need to make the other person to change. Love your spouse for who and what they are, while you are modifying your own response to their preformed attitude and behaviors that you are finding some issues with. It's not easy. Honestly, it is not easy. But then, it is the truth that we need to share with each other. This is where we will end the discussion for tonight. As it pleases the Lord, next Saturday is another day. So let's look forward to being alive, and then God bless you.